My name is State Senator Joe Addabbo, 15th District in Queens. I want to welcome you to another segment, Where Do We Go From Here, our March 15th, 2024 segment. Back in 2021, our state passed the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, a piece of legislation I didn't support. I didn't think we were ready, but we did go forward with legalizing marijuana. Now, to date, there's 11 licensed dispensaries in New York City. Unfortunately, there's over 1,500 illegal marijuana shops that we are dealing with. And you can just imagine the proliferation of smelling marijuana even as you drive. I drive up and down my local streets, boulevards, and I smell it as I drive, which means more and more individuals are actually driving under the influence of marijuana. Also, unfortunately, is that our laws in New York have not kept up pace with the change of recreational marijuana. So our streets become a little bit certainly unsafer as we are unable to really adjust our laws at this point in terms of people driving under the influence of marijuana or drug driving. But we can change that. There was a bill, Senate Bill 3135, which is introduced by a good friend of mine, Senator John Mannion, and Assembly Bill 174. What this would do is actually try to update our current statutory laws to keep pace with the marijuana usage in our communities. The bill actually defines drug as basically any substance that would impair driving. It would actually codify the definition of impairment and intoxication. It allows us to use oral bodily fluids at the scene in an effort to determine or evaluate the impairment. It allows these drug certification or drug recognition experts to test the exam. And if you don't agree to the exam, there's some criminal penalties there as well. So this is a piece of legislation that we hope to pass this session in an effort to address the issue of people, the increase of people drug driving, in an effort to make our streets safer, in an effort to prevent rather than react. But unfortunately, we are already reacting. There have been deaths throughout our state, even in our city, regarding the people who are drug driving. And with us today, again, I sorely appreciate Henry and Migdalia, who in 2007 lost their 18-year-old son, Henry, to an accident, a fatal accident, along with his friend in the car, to a person who was driving under the influence of drugs. I want to welcome Henry and Migdalia today to tell their story. And Henry and Migdalia, thank you so much for being here today. I understand this is such a traumatic experience, but that you are really an inspiration because you're telling your story so that we can prevent future tragedies like this one. Please, Henry and Migdalia.
Thank you for having us, Joseph, Senator Joseph Addabbo. Yes, our beloved son, Henry Alexander, was taken away from us in a blink of an eye by a person who was an habitual drug user. He was high on cocaine on a 3-day binge. And my son and his girlfriend and his good friend, Pedro, were coming out of the movie theaters. Young kids. He was getting ready to graduate from high school, football player, loved the Buffalo Bills, looking forward to life, looking forward to college, just making us proud. And in a blink of an eye, all those dreams got stolen from us, and the future of our beloved son and his good friend, Pedro. This person who was coming down the wrong way on Interstate 590 in the Monroe County, like I said, was on a 3-day binge. He went down the wrong way, and my son was coming in the right direction, and he hit my son's car on the driver's side, killing Pedro instantly. And my son passed away in the hospital. This Memorial Weekend in 2007, me and my wife, we were in New Jersey visiting my Uncle Vinny, and looking forward to a new job that I was starting with a local company here. And we got that phone call around 11:30 at night from my father, who lived in Austin, Texas. And the phone went straight into speakerphone, and we heard my dad telling my Uncle Vinny, tell Henry and Migdalia they have to get back upstate. Henry was in a bad accident, and he's in the hospital. And the worst part is not knowing, not able to be there. But we got in our car, and with the good Lord's help, we made it upstate to New York. In the meantime, we had stopped and prayed in between. I talked to my oldest sister, and I had asked her, what's going on. She told me that Pedro was sentenced to killed. I didn't tell my wife immediately because she wouldn't have made it upstate New York. But once we got to the hospital here in Rochester, I told her while we were in the parking lot, and she lost it. And on the way up where they had my son, the first person that I met was my kid sister. And I seen the look on her face, and I've seen it before because she had lost her son at 16 from a drowning accident. So I seen the look, and I lost it. It's just something that puts you out of this world. It's not natural that you lose your child. We understand there's illnesses, there's sicknesses, and things we can't help. This is an instance where, by all means, it was an avoidable tragic accident. The person that was driving was a repeat offender. It's not his first time. He was a 38-year-old man who was a pharmaceutical person out of all people. He worked for Walmart and at the pharmacies there, and just was on a 3-day binge. We had planned a graduation party for my son, and we had to turn this around for a funeral service. This, as a parent, it puts you in a desert because you question everything underneath the sun and wonder why. Why my son? He was doing all the right things, and this person survived the car accident. With all that, it's just one of these things that you think about it and you say, God, why not me? Why my son? My rage was out of control. Trust me when I say I wanted this guy's head on a platter, and I had no problem being prosecuted by the law. My thoughts were, what? Let me spend time behind bars, and I'm going to put this guy in the ground, because the rage was that far gone, But I thank God, it took 2 years to bring this person to justice, and at that time the good Lord worked in my heart. I was able to forgive because I knew this guy wasn't going out looking for my son. He could have killed anybody. But I thank God, I was able to leave that at the courtroom because I have a beloved wife I have to take care of and another beloved son that I have to take care of. So with all that, seeing this new law that's being introduced, the S3135 law, I think is a great law. I think it needs to be passed because people do need to be responsible and accountable for their actions. This is something that, like I said, is completely avoidable. The greatest gift we have, especially in this country, is a free will. We choose, to do right or wrong. This person chose wrong every time. This is third offense, And I'm not here to judge anybody. By the grace of God, I go when I was young and stupid. But you have to grow up at one point, And this person, he ignored all those signs. So, like I said, I'm hoping that this law does get passed, and we can move forward, and hopefully prevent any other tragedies on the road. I move forward. Me and my wife, Migdalia, we go forward every time. We do speakings. And if we can talk somebody into doing the right thing, our son's life is not in vain.
Mr. Rivera, you got it right. And again, Henry, Migdalia, thank you again. And, I want to say thank you for sharing a very personal tragedy. And I know it's not easy. But do you find yourself, because I was up in Albany regarding this bill, Senate 3135 with Senator Mannion, and we were at a press conference regarding this bill, advocating for the bill. And there were other parents there. Another parent lost their child in this past March. Do you find yourselves in this other family of individuals who lost loved ones because of a drug driving tragedy? Do you find yourselves talking to other families who experience a similar tragedy?
Yes, we do. It's something that it's very close to our heart. When we hear of a family that have lost a loved one, whether it's a child or an adult, it's something that it brings us right back to our pain, because we know what that pain is. So it's something that um, no matter what family, whether it's a young person or an older person who loses their life because of a tragedy of a person under the influence of alcohol, drugs, whatever the substance is, it's something that it comes back to us. And we are here to support those people through our local organizations here. We are part of RAID, and we are part of DWI. And anytime that they will call us, whether it's the schools or any area in the community, we are present to give our testimony, to give the pain that we still have. It doesn't matter how many years it goes by. You go back into stage one when you hear of a parent that have lost a child.
So, Migdalia, thank you, because I think it would be important if you let us know when speaking to these other families that have witnessed such a tragedy in their own lives due to drug driving. Is there frustration that the state could do something? We have the opportunity of doing something here to prevent other tragedies, to make our roadways safer for others. Is there a sense of frustration? And if so, what would you like to see done? Or what is there talk about being done out of that frustration?
Out of the frustration, I would like for the law to be stronger when to give the officers the authority to be able to test the people that they stop, to test them not only for alcohol but other substance, that they are not entitled to do that right now. So if they're using marijuana, in some states is legal, in some other states it isn't legal. And like you said earlier, a car goes by and you can smell that marijuana when you're walking. I'm a walker, and when I walk out and I smell that, I know the person is under that influence and they're driving. So why not have the law stronger, where they can stop, where the officers can stop the individual just by the smell? They don't have to just stop them because they're driving recklessly, but also just the smell of it. You go into the department stores and you can smell the marijuana on people's clothes. They come to you, and if you look at them, they just get frustrated. They get upset with you and they yell at you because you're looking at them, because you know that they're under that influence and they're driving.
Yeah, I've been to many press conferences, Migdalia and Henry. I've been to many, and none were as emotional and as poignant as that one on the drug driving legislation being proposed. Again, parents there talking about loved ones that they had lost recently. There was a woman in a wheelchair. She had lost both of her legs in an accident. And so, I truly appreciate, again, getting the emotion, getting the frustration out there, and telling the elected officials, you have to do something. Because, Migdalia, to your point, we see it in our streets, we smell it as we're driving. And one thing when they did do the legislation again, which one I did not support, but when they did do it, they did say, all right, driving in you cannot drive marijuana. But I think people do so because they don't think that there will be any consequence for it, that they're not going to get pulled over. And if they get pulled over by the authorities, there's no consequence. Yet they don't realize the risk to not only themselves, but certainly to others while they're driving. And so I got to thank you for relaying that frustration, that anger, and telling the electeds what we need to do.
Thank you, Senator. I mean, in my opinion, also, I mean, when the states decided to legalize marijuana, I thought to myself, I said, you got to be kidding me, because it's like the states are giving they're throwing their hands up. They're saying, okay, we give up. All right, so you know what? Let's legalize this and let's tax the heck out of it, and just like prohibition. So it's just one of these things that it's like, we have to fight to get fight. I mean, what's next? I mean, you legalize all kinds of other drugs. As long as you don't drive, people, yeah, we're not going to drive, but that's the big lie they tell themselves and everybody else. And it's just one of these things that you wonder, okay, where's this going to take us as a nation, as a country, as people. So it's just it is frustrating. It's definitely frustrating.
Now, Henry Migdalia, when the procedure, when the court proceedings started to go on, when obviously the person was apprehended, now did that anger you too, that justice is just not being served? We have the fatality of your son and his friend Pedro. Was anger there too, as you're seeing this person? There was 2 deaths, and we're still not getting justice at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, it took 2 years to bring this person to justice. At the end result, we had a blessed lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but a blessed judge, and he was very strong on his point of views. This person, was trying to find every excuse in the book, and the judge basically said, you're just basically trying to put up a front at this point because you got caught. Period. And he took 2 lives though, and he served 8 years.
That's not enough.
As 4 years for each person. I mean, if I've said it often. If I was in my house and I was drinking and I got my weapons, I went outside and you started shooting up and saying, yeah, yippee-yi-ki-yay, a couple of those stray bullets hit a couple of people and killed them. What am I going to be charged with? Most likely murder, reckless, even though I didn't mean to kill him. But, I might get 20 years for being such a foolish person to do that. Where these offenders that are drinking and driving, and not the first or second time, they get caught out here, they kill somebody, 8 years, and maybe 5 years probation after that. It's just, I'm not looking to send somebody to life in prison, but the weight of their crime definitely has to be equitable to what they're going to be doing in time. So the law definitely needs to change.
So if I got it right, the tragedy happens, 2 individuals pass away, and this person is out by now, correct?
Yes.
That just, it is frustrating. It is. And then again, I can't thank you both enough for again giving us that very personal story, and again in your son Henry's honor, so that he's never forgotten. Hopefully we can pass the Senate bills 3135 by Senator Mannion, and on the Assembly side 174 by Assembly Member Magnarelli. And hopefully the governor can sign it, because in an effort to make our roads safer and prevent tragedies, certainly, but not that those who have passed before are forgotten. They will never be forgotten if the state does the right thing here. At the end of these segments, we call it "Where do we go from here?" because that's my last question. So, Migdalia and Henry, where would you like to see the state go from here?
I would like to see the bill pass and signed by the governor as soon as possible, so to make our roads and streets safer. Um, and just take it to this point where we can have a winning bill. That's what I would like to see it go from here.
Yes.
I agree with you. I join you in that sentiment and where we go from here. It is about raising awareness. That's another where we go from here, to raise awareness that we have an increase of drug driving incidents, especially with the increase of marijuana, whether it be legalized or the illegal shops here in the 5 boroughs of New York City. It is about awareness. It is about outreach. While it is so hard to tell these stories, it is so powerful to hear from Henry and Migdalia Rivera on the loss of their son and the passenger, and how the person who did that is already out. The bottom line is to hear these stories are the most powerful, really, mechanism we have to an extent to move these pieces of legislation, hopefully before the end of session in June. I encourage families who have experienced a tragedy. Groups, Migdalia, you mentioned that there are a couple of groups out there. If you don't mind, please mention again the name of the groups that you're working with that are out there advocating to make our roads safer.
Well, the one group is called RAID, Rochester Against Impaired Drivers. It's a nonprofit organization. I was the president for over 10 years. I just gave that over to one of our supporters as well, because I've got a lot on my plate. And the other one is the Monroe County DWI Light Sound for Life program. And this is a program that we go out and along with law enforcement, we do traveling around the county at one specific time of the year, so we can bring awareness to the community. Also, we do speakings to those who have been sentenced by the courts and who have been caught. And it's one of those things that it does real good, because there's a couple of times there I've had coworkers that have come up to me and they've said, Henry, I seen you speaking at this court, the appointment that I was sentenced to. I didn't want you to see me because I was ashamed, but I've changed my ways. I've definitely changed my ways, after hearing your testimony. And also we do speakings for schools for when they get ready to graduate, for the high school students, bringing awareness to them. And, so it's one of these things that it does great value to the community here we live in.
Yeah, Henry and Migdalia Rivera, I got to say thank you again for being an inspiration, for your efforts, for all those involved in those groups that are out there telling their stories, demanding that the state actually does something on this drug driving issue. I want to thank you both. I want to thank your son, Henry, for still being an inspiration as we look to prevent these accidents and stop reacting to these fatalities. So again, to the Rivera family, I want to say thank you. Where do we go from here? Hopefully we can pass Senate Bill 3135 by Senator Mannion and Assembly Bill 174 by Assemblymember Magnarelli this session, and have a sign so we can make our roads safer. But that's where we go from here. To Mr. and Mrs. Rivera, thank you so much for sharing your personal story and for being so strong and being an inspiration to us all here in New York State. I want to thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next segment of Where Do We Go From Here? Senator Joe Addabbo saying thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you, everyone.